Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode here at Salvage Workshop. Today, we found another old motor grader that's in need of a rescue. So, let's take a look at it, and we'll get right into getting it out of here. So, what we have here is, I think it's a 1940s or 50s Allis Chalmers motor grader. And it is in fairly complete condition. The cutting blade is there. It has a ripper. It's got all four, or both steer tires look decent. All four rear tires look decent. Both seat pads are there. Looks like the battery box is underneath it. And I don't know literally anything else about it. So let's walk around. I always thought this big tube frame was really cool, really unique. Looks like the tilt cylinder there is got a hose broken off of it, but see if we can find some more detail. That's broken. There's something. So right there says a Model D, printed in the US. Allis Chalmers Model D, serial number 13014. And I'm not sure what that's, maybe the cab serial number was that one. And then this is the serial number D5347 maybe, Allis Chalmers. So we have the blade is probably mostly down, which is not a good thing, but they've got a chain holding the ripper up. I don't know anything else about it other than somebody bashed the back of this radiator with a set of forks to move it at one point. And so in doing that, they broke the right there above my finger in the radiator. And so that radiator is possibly fixable, but most likely going to be junk. I don't know if the motor is stuck. It does have a little flapper over the exhaust, and the air intake is still covered, which are both great signs. We are literally sitting in mud and water. And there's just a muddy mess of a pit back here. I brought the service truck, and the goal is not to get it started today. Literally, the goal is to get it on a trailer and get it out of here. So it's starting to get a little dark on me. So we'll do a better walk around once we get it back to the shop. Right now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I want to spend a little more time getting it out of here, and we'll go from there. I'm going to try and get all this metal out of the way because I don't want to run it over with tires or anything, so. The blade is kind of in the dirt. We got the wheels sunk in. So we're going to try and dig this out some so that we can at least get the blade as far away from the ground as possible. Because I'll show you in a minute, this is not going to be an easy recovery from this spot. So we need to pull it that way, hopefully. But for now, let's get that dug out. We'll go from there. So we're just trying to get the wheels turned as far that way as we can so that we can kind of get it out that way. Right there. That's good. Run it. All right, so our blade is digging in, so we're gonna try and use a come along to lift the blade up, and then we'll chain it. We're still digging into that far side.
I got you.
Yep. Huh? Yeah. We're kind of bottle jack her in the bed on the side rail. There we go. However you want to do it, maybe sling it through itself. I would do that on the machine. Okay.
Just like that. Keep coming, keep coming. Keep coming. Ho! Which way you pulling? Hey, can you hook the back?
Oh, heck yeah, we can.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Then here.
Oh, that's plenty strong. We'll go right down here
I'll go.
and grab.
Yep. Good?
Yep.
Same way?
Same.
Ratchet blanket, right? Here you go, Mika. Next one. You want to catch a little more meat and come under the main frame?
Sure.
Here.
And again, we're not.
Shoot me up right here. Help. You want to see on the other side.
Pull it toward the front.
No, do you want to that one or are you good there?
Let's just get it a little tighter and then we'll. That's fine. Yep.
So we can't lock it in gear.
It's fine. This will be plenty. All right, well, we got it out. It was a little bit more of a hassle than we initially thought, but at the end of the day, we were able to finagle it out without another machine, using just a service truck and a little bit of ingenuity here. So a little bit of redneck engineering. So let's get this thing home. Yeah, you're good. Keep going. Yeah, you're good. All right, well, this little beast definitely made for a good time getting it where it's at. But I've got it sitting here right next to the other grader, and at some point in the future, we'll be jumping onto this. But let's do a walk around when it's a little bright out, and we'll kind of take a look at the machine. The old Allis Chalmers put up a little bit of a fight getting it home and into this spot, but it is here. So let's do a quick walk around and just take a look at it. One thing that I noticed is all of the tires are still holding air, all 6. And so that's great news. Doesn't mean that they are great, but this is actually a pretty nice machine. It's got a full scarfer attachment. It's got a moldboard that shifts, hydraulic up and down. Obviously that's normal, but it's all mechanical steering, which was nice because we could use that to actually turn the machine. With some of these machines, when they're dead, you can't do much with it. But somebody welded an eyelet here and here, and 2 on the other side, specifically for raising that blade without being under hydraulic power. And that was a big help. So this old school version has the actual tube frame. And I always thought that thing was so iconic in regards to graders. And so I definitely thought that was awesome. This one had it. But if we jump in the machine, I'll have to figure out what the controls, what each lever controls. But we got our throttle here, and that's actually free. And this is our shifter, which I'm guessing that's the pattern. And that is just rock solid. So to figure that out. Oil, amps, I'm guessing water temp. That one doesn't look good. Probably a start switch. And then one of these will be clutch. The other one's going to be brakes. Don't know what's what on it. But it does steer, so that's a good sign. And most of the glass is, so this is plexiglass. Somebody basically just put a new in. That's glass. So's that. Oh, look at that. We got a heater. Well, that's a little cab heater for it. And that's an actual glass window. Just look at the paint. Guarantee that's probably lead based. So that's exciting. So, one of the biggest problems with this machine is that somebody smashed the radiator with a set of forks. And I knew that because I saw this machine quite a while ago, and the person who owned it at the time basically told me that one of their employees was pushing it around in the yard. Set of forks right here. Terrible idea, shouldn't have done it. Completely smashed and broke the radiator. And, oh man. Dang, I didn't see that before. That is the water pump, and it is cracked right there. Wonder how bad that is. You know what? This hood and radiator are literally just sitting there. Let's get those off and look at that water pump. But man, if I can't find parts for it, that's going to be a different situation. If we look at the radiator here, that is where it completely cracked off. The core itself is probably great. So I don't know if that's fixable or if it's even worth it, because it kind of snapped pretty much right where it would have been soldered on, because here's the other end. So maybe I could solder that elbow back into the lower housing. The fan is all banged up, barely turning. That fin are pretty bad. Belt's off. This alternator got banged. And then, I guess the belt's coming off all the way. Let's look at this water neck. Oh yeah, it's in multiple pieces. So just slightly moving it like that, I can see the separation crack there expand. So my guess is this ear is broke completely off, and actually it might go down. It might be these two. So this is our throttle. Comes from the cab here, goes into the governor, through that, and then at least that's free. Here's our carburetor. That's our choke. That's off. Okay, so that's our air intake. We got air coming in that pipe, going through this tube into the carburetor. I don't see any cracks in the manifolds. The exhaust pipe kind of just sits right down into here. And then this would be the upper radiator hose. And let's look at check the points out. Well, that doesn't look too bad, actually. Oh, wow. That actually looks fairly clean. Those points might be new. That condenser looks new. Whole point card looks new. The coil, no, not new. So we'll close that up. So that's actually a good sign. I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't tell us much. Let's see if we can find the dipstick so we can check the oil. And there it is. And this will tell us hopefully if there's water in it. Well, it's right about halfway up to full. Smells normal. Yeah, well, that's a good sign. That means there's not a ton of water or coolant or fuel down in the crankcase. And I don't know if the engine is free or not. I haven't messed with it. So that's our gas tank. But man, right now, assuming the engine's not locked up, the next problem will be either finding a water pump or fixing that one. And it's cast iron. I guess before anything, we really should get a wrench on the crank and figure out if the engine is locked up. And if it is, maybe we get some stuff in the cylinders and see if we can break that loose or let that sit and break itself loose. I don't know. I've got hopes that it's good, but let's find out. It doesn't want to go that way. Okay. It's going a little bit that way, and then I'm hearing something up front. Yeah, almost like maybe something is in the flywheel housing. I'm definitely hitting the shoulder, and I don't know if it's engine or if it's up there in the front. Well, that's not good. What I'm hearing is something kind of in that area, and maybe there's something seized up in there. I don't know, there's a plate there with a grease zerk on it. The starter is right there, which I think is under the seat. You know, I think I'm going to take off this water pump and we're just going to see what we see, because I can probably get the engine free, but I definitely want to figure out what part that is. I think there's a part number on it that says JM 18 maybe, and then the engine block number says AM 3858-14, and then there's a 4 down there below it. If you got any information on that motor, that'd be great. Looks like there's some more numbers here. Need to get a scraper or a wire brush to see them though. I don't see any tags anywhere. Let's get that water pump off. Oh yeah, it's flush. It's broke right off. I think it's in 3 pieces. Yep. There's one of them. here's our two pieces, small ones. So there's that. It goes like that. And then let me get this cobweb out of there. So then that big piece goes right there. The small piece goes right there. There's what it looked like. It would look unbroken, but literally every single bolt hole is separated. So, and this is cast iron. I've welded cast iron before and had success doing it, but I'm gonna see if I can find this part before I go down that path. It's a lot of work, and you don't always get it right. And it's just a porous metal. It's hard to, you gotta heat it, preheat it, and then you gotta post heat it. You gotta cool it slowly. You gotta use nickel rod, or you gotta braze it. There's a lot to it. So it looks like this engine might be sleeved. Right in there I can see, I can't show you right now, but it looks like a sleeve for the cylinder. That's surprising. So I'm pretty sure that's our governor there, because our throttle linkage goes into that, and then it comes, the actual one that goes to the carburetor comes out of that mechanism. But so I think for right this minute, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that water pump with me. We're going to plug holes. I'm going to get something to cover that, something to cover that, something to cover the air or the exhaust, something to cover this side of the carburetor. Just trying to make it as least likely to get worse while it sits. Because right now we're not going to start this. We're not going to mess with it. I just have too many other projects. This popped up. It was available at a very, very reasonable price. And so I couldn't say no. So the point in kind of diving this deep was just to assess the damage. So I'm going to either need to fix the radiator or get a new one. The hood itself looks fine. It's got a few dents and dings. I think I can take the radiator out of this and bang out that grill and still save and reuse that. I'll have to weld the mounting tabs back on because they ripped off. There's one there and then one right there. And then I think we're going to need an alternator. Thing feels locked up. Well, oh, there we go. It might come back to life. Looks like the fins got bent when the whole thing got pushed in, so I don't know. We'll have to mess with it. It's a Delco Remy. Looks like it's just a one-wire alternator. And then, yeah, I mean, beyond that, get some stuff soaking maybe in the cylinders, and then we're going to try and figure out how to take a peek down into the flywheel housing and see if we can figure out a way to clean that out. Maybe there's a cover on the bottom. I've seen mouse nests get down in those and kind of just wreak havoc on that side of the engine. I mean, it could be that the inside of this engine is beautiful, but it can't turn over because there's stuff binding around the flywheel, you know, in there somewhere. So I don't know. So let's get these ports plugged. All right, here's what I got so far. I've got the air intake line back on, but I did put a piece of plastic tarp kind of over the carburetor in case water does get down in there. I did put a big plastic cover on that air intake. We've got a bottle inside the exhaust and then a tarp over it, plastic over the two radiator lines. And then for this water pump, I really couldn't think of much other than to make a plate that would mount right here. And then we're going to put a gasket in there that I made and basically just use the 3 holes to bolt that on there tight so nothing can get in there. I'm mainly concerned about a mouse nest happening in there because that would be very bad. So let's get that put on. All right, I'm going to slather this grease all over the gasket here. Try and take up some of the imperfections in the casting, the metal, the gasket itself, and it'll last longer. Do it on both sides. Alright, got that in there. There's our plate. I had to get some shallower bolts, so I hung on to the longer ones, but actually, you know what? Let's put some grease on these bolts. And actually, there are not threads on that lower stud all the way, so I'm going to have to go get like a piece of pipe spacer, and then we'll put the nut back on. So I'm going to go find something real quick. Alright, got a little piece of pipe. There we go. That should keep out all the unwanted guests. I got this spark plug hole opened up. We're going to stick a funnel in here, and we're going to add some penetrating oil down in there. Okay, I'm going to do that to the other three. And we're going to close this thing up and let it sit. I've got fluid in all 4 cylinders. I popped the bolts, or the nuts, off the valve cover. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks good in there. Yeah, sweet. Oh, yeah, it looks so good in there. I mean, there's a little surface rust inside the valve cover. Well, I am pleasantly surprised at how clean that is. I do think I'm gonna wipe this valve cover gasket and then coat it with some grease. Kind of try and coat the rim of that with some grease and button it back up. I just wanted to see in there, see how, if it looked all nasty. It does not. This is a great sign. We know a lot more about this machine now as far as its potential. The engine, at least the top side, looks good. Something is clearly binding the engine. I think it's in the flywheel housing, somewhere in that range. It might be in gear. I guess that shouldn't affect anything. Actually, it could. If it was in gear and try and turn the engine over, it's going to try and turn the transmission too. So I think we got to try and get it into neutral. I wonder if that's the issue. Because if it's not in neutral, yeah, the engine will be coupled with the transmission, causing it to want to drive. So yeah, maybe that's the issue. I don't know. All right, so there's another option. We'll try and get into the shifter there and see if we can get that thing in neutral, because it's not quite. It's supposed to be right in the middle, and I think it's got to come back a little bit to get into neutral, but the engine, as far as everything else, looks great so far. The only thing, if you know where to get a water pump for this engine, please let me know. Or you've got one laying around that you'd be willing to sell me. I'd be absolutely great to have it. I'd appreciate it a lot. Same with a radiator. If you've got a radiator laying around for one of these, that would be amazing as well. I may try and fix them if they are unobtainium. If they're not unobtainium, we'll see what they cost and try and find one affordably. But I think I'm going to coat the rim of that with grease, coat this with grease, put some grease on each one of these, and then we're going to set that cover right back on it. This is not a permanent fix. This is just me trying to take care of the engine so that it doesn't get any worse between now and when we actually get around to doing it. And I think really, you know, I mean, obviously that plate's great. These covers are going to make a big difference. So I don't really need another motor grader. We got the big old cat one here. But man, I have a soft spot for Allis Chalmers, and when I saw this thing just rotting away and headed for the scrapyard, I couldn't resist. Unfortunate that somebody bashed the back, but I mean, that's how it goes with old machines. Well, it got a little late last night when I was trying to kind of get the engine buttoned up. I did find out that this is probably an Allis Chalmers 226 gasoline engine. The water pumps are readily available. I'm sure the radiators are too, and we'll probably need a radiator fan. It's still going to be, you know, a chunk of change to get those things, but you know, if you've got one of those things laying around, just let me know. That'd be awesome. But either way, at least now I know that regardless, that kind of part is available, and I don't have to try and fix the other one. It does have a powered tilt. One of the hoses broke off, and I was able to get an easy out in there and get the piece out. So I just plugged it for now. This hose is, you know, just broken still, but I want to try and avoid any additional water that may be getting into that cylinder and get it stopped. I kind of am thinking of pulling this cylinder out just to turn it upside down and drain any would-be water in there so that nothing gets any worse than it is. But at least now no new water can get in there, and I did shove a bunch of grease in there. And get this radiator cover put back on. One thing I want to get into at some point soon is under all these 3 plates on both sides and take a look at the gears and the shafts inside of the inside of there, just to make sure we don't have any broken chains or broken shafts. Same on the other side. There's 3 more covers over there, right there. And another thing I'd like to look at soon is right there. That's the shifter for the transmission, and the boot that should be covering it looks pretty much garbage, if not completely gone. And so water can run down into the transmission. And so I'd like to get, there's a drain plug right there. I want to open that drain plug out and see if there's any water in the bottom of the transmission. But for now, we got it home safe. We've taken a walk around it, seen what kind of machine it is. It's in very, very good shape for its age. I didn't show you, but the model it's a D model. It's an Allis Chalmers Model D. And then the serial number is a D5347. So this tag actually has a 1952 and a 1955 number on it. So it can't be any older than that. They started making these in 1949 from what I know. And so because that tag says 55, it's at least a 55, if not newer. We have exactly 1 hour on this unit. And so it's definitely been pretty dang low miles. Or somebody didn't wire it right and had no idea what they were doing, and I don't even know why you would replace it and then not get it working, but whatever. This little unit is in pretty dang good shape for its age. I am going to need some new lights. They're going a little bit Bluetooth on me. That one is better, but still broken. I've been looking for cracks in the welds on this actual tube frame, because apparently if they've been rode hard and put away wet, you get some cracking in places and it has to be reinforced, but I haven't seen anything. So I'm really optimistic that this is a lower hour machine. I hope you enjoyed the rescue process of this old motor grader. it was definitely a challenge getting it back, and we've got our work cut out for us when it comes to getting it working right and operating properly. As always, I absolutely love doing this. Saving these machines that kind of built our country and built the world, really, is something I think a lot fewer people are doing. And so I just challenge you to get out there and find something you can save today, because once they're gone, they're gone. And I don't know, I have a passion for this old stuff, and if you don't know that by now, I don't know how to explain it to you. But thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for supporting the channel, liking and commenting, because without you, this would not be possible. Lots more to come. I guarantee you're going to want to stick around.